What's up? My name is Casey Budge. This is the Off Season Podcast, and today we have an awesome episode for you guys. I am back with the shorter list of experts than I had last night. Couldn't get everyone back. Their paychecks that I was writing were just too high. Couldn't afford to bring them back for a second night in a row. But maybe we can convince them to come back a little bit in later rounds and report a little bit more when we replenish the budget on that a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
But I do have Kate with me again tonight, so thank you so much for coming on, Kate. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So, can you give us a sneak peek of what the Tips and Tricks Tuesday is going to be tomorrow?
I haven't thought much about that yet. I'm at school right now in the in-between time of Thanksgiving and Christmas where I don't have a horse with me. So I'm thinking maybe some fashion tip and trick.
Ooh, that would be good, or some
Yeah.
modeling or something like that. That would be
Yeah. We'll
all
see.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that one.
You're excited now, aren't you?
I'm really excited. I'm definitely gonna watch it and not just like it and share it.
Right. Well, I appreciate that just as much.
Fair enough. Well, I say we get on started right onto the bareback riding. What do you say?
Yeah, sounds good.
Right. Well, it seemed like it was a night of ties throughout the rodeo, but the first tie we want to talk about is in the bareback riding. There's a three-way tie for sixth place with RC Landing, Cooper Cook, and Cole Franks, all with an 85. And if that doesn't tell you how competitive this round is, I don't know what will. These guys came to absolutely ride tonight.
Yeah, you had to be 85 and higher to get in that top six. And they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys ride last night, which is just kind of unheard of everyone rode last night, but to have 8 guys in that top six is really cool. They had a couple different ties in there. So to get everyone above 85 in the top six was really, really awesome.
Yeah. And what about Bradley Miller with an 88.5 point ride on Secrets Out? That was an outstanding bronc ride.
Yeah, and we can continue to see really good stock out of that stock contractor. The past few rounds, they've really stood out to me and been a stock contractor that provides broncs. In round number 3, Jess Pope won the round on one of theirs, and then again in round 4. So I think that their horses are just really, really strong and get a good score.
Yeah, it looked like Jess Pope was riding another one of those last night as well, and he was an 84.5 and didn't get a check. I mean, that's a crazy competitive round.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for Jess Pope because he's just such a solid bronc rider, and to not get a check at 84 and a half is just kind of ridiculous.
That tells you how tough of a night it
Right.
was. And it was
I
kind of a
don't
tough night. What was that?
know you, but I don't know that I would sign up to get on a bronc and get in that fist fight and be 84 and a half and not get any money out of it. That doesn't sound like
Yeah,
very much.
that's a pretty tough. Yeah. But if you could go out and do that and you had the chance at the we were doing the math today and it's like almost $400,000. Like if you were to win all 10 rounds and the average, which you would anyway if you won all 10 rounds, your total winnings at the NFR would be over $400,000.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I might take that trade off.
Yeah, and that average you talk about is another $84,000. So that's
That's that.
just huge. That's a huge check.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like 330,000 just from round checks, and then your average check coming in to put you over the $400,000 mark. That would be crazy.
That would be crazy.
Well, looking at another close race, the steer wrestling was very, very tight. You had to be a 4-2 or faster to even sniff money, and you had to be below a 3-7 to be in the top three, and that's what JD Strussick.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't.
that was
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, me neither. Structus. Yeah, that's just really competitive steer wrestling across the board there. And we continue to see that those smooth runs are just paying off. And we see Dalton Massey and Will Loomis and Tyler Wagas back and Stetson Jorgensen kind of at the bottom of the pack here. Those veterans that we're expecting to be really competitive were just kind of at the bottom of the pack last night. And, whether it was because they drew a steer that stepped into them a little bit or just off the barrier or whatever, they just kind of fell to the bottom of the pack there a little bit behind that 4-2 that ended up sixth.
Yeah. And like I said, like this is a close race all the way through, and including the world title one. So this will be another exciting one to follow along with. And speaking about exciting races, let's pop over to the team roping, where we had a four-way tie for first place. JC and Buddy Hotkins, Clint Summers and Jake Longs, Dustin Esquiza, Levi Lord, Cody Snow, and Hunter. We're all 4-1, and they all tied for first. So that was a crazy competitive round with all those guys coming in there and just absolutely cleaning up. And speaking of, both of my teams were my header and my healer were both in that four-way tie. So I was doing pretty good.
Nice. That's way to go. Way to be up there. You know what it would have been like at the South Point last night with 8 different team ropers there? That would have been just a really, really fun time at the buckle ceremony last night.
I know. I almost went back this morning and watched the buckle ceremony, but I just didn't have time. And
Yeah.
it happens at like 2 a.m. my time, so I was not going to stay up and watch it. But that would be one to watch if you're going to watch any buckle ceremony.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
This
absolutely.
was a crazy fun night of team roping. You could hear the announcers just rooting for someone to break that tie, and have someone get a faster time because they were not wanting to have to go through the 8 team ropers they were going to have to go through if they ended up winning it. But that's how it ended up shaking out. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Yeah, and my team roper is and always will be Coleman Proctor. He's my header for sure on my team. I always pick Coleman. And just not quite there last night. They were just a little bit slower last night, just out of the money. And I listened to the Coleman Proctor report on his Facebook. He does a little before the round, sits down and talks about what his game plan is. And he auctions off his CSI saddle pads for charity. And then his wife gives a report on how his horse felt that day while she was riding him. And he says, "We don't believe in superstitions, we believe in Jesus." And his wife goes, "Amen." And he goes, "But I won't be wearing that green hat again in the arena."
that's funny.
He was upset about changing his hat midweek. So he's going back to his tried and true tan hat and gonna win some more money this upcoming round.
That is a rookie move. I'll tell you what. Our uncle used to have a superstition about his shirts, where if he showed poorly in a shirt or he lost a cow in a shirt, he would go out and burn that shirt afterwards. So there is something to that superstitious stuff.
Yeah, I think that a lot of cowboys have some superstitions that help them feel a little bit competitive in this game. I think that Coleman doesn't need any superstitions. He's a talented horseman and an extremely talented roper. I'm looking for him to win me some more money in round number 5 for sure.
Yeah, these guys definitely don't need superstition, but it can be a mental battle, and anything that you can do to get that mental battle, get ahead in that mental battle, can be useful.
Totally.
That's
Definitely.
something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Well, you want to move on to the saddle bronc riding?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about round number 4 in the saddle bronc.
Sweet. So it was another very competitive round for everybody. My guy Zeke Thurston, he rode. It was the eliminators, so we had some high scores, we had some low scores, and a little bit of everything in between. But we had 3 buck off, so it was a tougher night than we have had, but it was still a very good night. Per usual, we saw a right at the top of the leaderboard with Rider Right and a 90 and a half on Tickled Pink.
Yeah, I have Ryder on my team, and we can say that it's because of that right last name or because of the color blue, but his ride last night was just so smooth, such a powerful horse, and I think that he came to the top of the pack for a reason there with his 90.5.
For sure. I mean, there's a reason that the right name is synonymous with victory in the saddle bronc riding, and that's because these boys can all ride. Like it's not just that, like, I don't know, some people want to say that they get favoritism or whatever, but that's just not true. Like they just ride broncs better than anybody else.
Definitely. And the Saddle Bronc was another event where you had to be very competitive last night to stay in the fight. We saw that you had to be a 85 in the bareback to get a check last night, and you had to be an 84.5 in the Saddle Bronc last night to get a check. So that was just, fun to see that the Eliminator pen breeds those higher scores. Those high powered horses just ultimately end up having really high horse scores, and the cowboys that can stay on and stay with them will get marked for it. And so that, all those scores that got a check last night were above an 84.5. So that's really fun to see. And one of the reasons I like to watch the Eliminator pens a little bit more than I like the hoppers, for sure.
And with Ryder out of the average, him being able to absolutely go after one in the eliminator pen made that run all the more fun.
Totally. When they can open up and really spur the hair off of one, it's fun to watch, for sure.
Yeah. Well, on to the calf roping. Who else but Riley Webb? I mean, he's just been tying so dang consistently. He is in the 7-second slot every single night. And when you can tie that consistently and you tie that well, a world title is what is going to follow. Like without doubt. It's just what's going to happen because he is tying so well. He is making the run that he needs to. He is going out there and tying the cap that he gets as perfect as he can. And he's not just drawing the easy caps too. That calf last night was a little bit tougher than
It's
the
hard.
ones that he has been having, but he just continues to handle his slack, flank well, tie well, and continue to be the all around package that we have grown to love him for. And it's just so fun to see him rope this well.
Definitely. And we talk about Haley Kensel being so robotic in the barrel racing and her and sister just being robots. And I think that I see a little bit of that competitive and practiced nature in Riley Webb. You can tell that those two are at the top of the pack for a reason. And when you watch Riley Webb's run, he's 7 flat in the first round, 7-8, 7-1, and then 7-5 last night. He has that element of a different calf every night to play into, but he's so practiced and such a good calf roper that he can go and just make those robotic moves in the tie down, which is really fun to see.
Yeah. And he has moved out to be about $40,000 ahead of Shad Mayfield in the tie down world standings. So if he continues to lay down runs like he does, and Shad continues to struggle at the Thomas and Mack like he always does, then we're going to have a back to back world title winner in the tie down roping.
Absolutely.
Uh, in the Haven Midget watch, he had to use a second loop to get his calf rope, so he's still in the average, but it's going to be a fight back the whole last 6 rounds if he's going to make a dramatic comeback. So hoping to see
Right.
that.
Yeah, I have Marty Yates on my team, and he has yet to win any money. He's just struggling a little bit. His calf got up the first round, and then he's been 9 seconds on a couple calves, and then a slow 7 on his third round calf. So we're still waiting for him to wake up and really go at them. Now that he's out of the average, I was expecting that more than I've seen from him, but hopefully he'll draw a good calf tonight and go at one.
Well, barrel racing, the girls must have gotten mad that they knocked barrels down last night because they came back with a vengeance. And Cassie Mowry uh, was able to topple Sister, and they were a 13.3 or 0.43, able to beat Sister, and Sister got beat again by Carly Otero. So Sister came in third with a 13.61. She still made a very consistent, very competitive run, but these other girls were just a little bit faster than her last night.
Yeah. The announcers were talking about how Haley Kensel hasn't gotten much sleep since she's been in Vegas, having to go to the South Point every night to get her buckle and then get up at 6 a.m. for barrel racing practice. And I think maybe, I don't know if she overheard that or what, but I think maybe she just wanted to sleep in a little bit. I said after she ran that she was probably headed to put sister away and then go to bed. That would be my game.
Yeah, I mean, she probably could take a night off. She was like, man, you don't have to. She probably didn't know. She just wins so much that she probably didn't know that she could go to bed early because she's always used to collecting
Yeah.
those gold buckles at the end of the night. And she just thought that that's what you do. She thought that you have to go to the South Point afterwards.
Yeah, she thought that there was only cars to the South Point. She didn't know you could get in a taxi anywhere else. So,
Yeah. She was like, well, I guess I have to go home now. I don't know where else I'm gonna go.
yeah.
But
yeah.
she is still in a commanding position as far as the average race and the world title rounds go. So her and sister are probably going to make the look another round win tonight, but they're still very safely in first place in both of those.
Yep. Yeah. And it's fun to watch Cassie Mowery. She's one of those really classy dressers. She just looks really clean cut on screen and rides really correctly. Something that resembles Lisa Lockhart a little bit. So she's fun to watch, and it was fun to see her win around last night as well.
Well, we're going to move on to the bull riding. And we only had 4 qualified rides last night. Josh Frost was an 86.5 on One Chance. Tyler Bingham was an 84.5 on Cowtown. Trey Kimsey was a 82.5 on Hammer Down. Jace Trustclair was a 82 on Jagger. And someone else rode, but they elected to take a reride. And
Oh, yeah.
that pro- that probably cost him some money. I can't remember who that was, but someone else rode one and then elected to take a reride and did not end up getting a check because of it.
Yeah, they were something like 70 points, and that would have got them a nice fifth place check last night, but instead they elected to take a reride and bucked off. We saw a few rerides last night. Tristan Hutchings, they thought he got fouled at the gate. I don't know that I would have given that reride. I didn't necessarily think that Bull fouled him at the gate, but I guess that's why I'm not a PRCA judge. He got a reride and bucked off his second bull too, which was a little bit disappointing because he's doing really well. He was doing really well in the average, had a commanding lead in the average, so it's hard to see him get bucked off last night.
Well, that's the thing about the bull riding is that it is hard to ride 10 bulls in a row. If you ride 10 bulls, you'll win the average. And in the ever wise words of Donna Gay, and if you ride the most bulls, you'll win the most money. I forgot about my Donna Gay quote of the night before last, and I didn't stay up for the bull riding last night. So we're getting our Donna Gay quote from round 3 tonight, and that is, you can get to the 6th round, and you can realize that you can win as much money in the last 5 rounds as you can in the first 5 rounds. So you can just go from there. I love Donna Gay. He's so funny.
There's a certain amount of money to be won. It's so matter of fact and so funny. Last night, we were watching the bull riding, and Will says, I love how Donnie Gay's not afraid to admit that he's scared. Someone's stalling in the chute a little bit. And he goes, and Donnie Gay goes, I know he doesn't want to nod his head. I know he's scared. It's just funny that Donnie Gay will admit that he's been in that situation before and he knows he doesn't want to get bucked off.
Yeah, and Donnie's won the world 7 times, so he knows what's up. He's been there and done that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Josh Frost is about $30,000 ahead in the average race after last night, and not in the average race, in the race for the world. So it's going to come down to the wire. Has anyone rode all 4 bulls so far?
No, I was looking at that, and no one's rode all 4 bulls so far. Josh has 3. The Jace behind him has 3 underneath him. Tristan has 3. Cooper James has 3. Tyler Bingham has 3. And those are the only ones who have 3 underneath them. So,
Jeez.
yeah. I mean,
This
it'll
average
be one
race
of
is
those
going to come
competitive
down to the
races
wire. Yeah.
for sure. And we're only entering round 5, so I think this second half we'll see even more eliminators and guys just continue to fall out of this. So there's 4 guys that have a strong hold of the average, and it could be any one of them who ends up with that nice $80,000 check at the end of 10 rounds.
Yeah. Or even as someone who's only rode 2 bulls so far, and
Sure.
if all of these guys end up bucking off. So we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on this race because this one's going to come down to the wire too.
Absolutely.
Well, Kate, anything else that you want to talk about?
Almost halfway, and I am happy to say that I'm still in the top half of our family fantasy team, but I'm not sure how long I'll hold on to that.
Where am I at? Have you seen where
I
I'm
haven't
at?
looked at yours.
You should check that out.
You don't know how high up you are?
No, I didn't look at it today. I was doing pretty good. I was in like the top 25 yesterday, but I might have dropped yesterday because my team ropers were the only ones who won me any money yesterday.
You're
And
about
Haley did.
there. I'd say you're about 25. You're top half of the top half, so.
Perfect. Well, that's where I want to stay.
For sure. That's where you want to be. I'm probably 20 below you, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're still only in round 4, and it tends to fluctuate a lot, especially when we get down to those last few rounds when the average starts to come into it. So we'll see how that turns out, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Kate. I always appreciate your expert analysis.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anytime.